In this video, we discuss the 1970s and what it was like to visit Molineux, the home of Wolverhampton Wanderers and the Subway Army, from the perspective of the home firm. Our Wolves contact was a member of the George Hotel firm, who were the dominant force until the Subway Army took over in the early 80s. Let's get straight on with the story from, let's call him John for security reasons. I was born in Wolverhampton and lived in Bushbury, which is a rough part of Wolverhampton. Well, it's mainly rough anyway, but this area was well known for it. At the time, Wolves was quite a difficult place to come to. Early 70s with the Temple Street gang and other firms who were all fighting each other as much as the away fans. The home terrace was the North Bank, which despite a few boasts from West Ham and Chelsea, has never been taken. West Ham legend Bill Gardner reckons the Hammers took it in the early 70s. I don't remember that, and neither do any of my contacts. We do know that Chelsea invaded the corner of the terrace and caused mayhem in 1978 after they left the South Bank early and got into the North Bank when the gates opened with 15 minutes of the match left. This was apparently a tactic of theirs, and work a treat this time, causing panic amongst the young female and older men who were situated in the North Bank at this time. Wolves' firm had from last game 1975 gone into the South Bank en masse, and on the night in question were right alongside the Chelsea mob, so it's been a 50-year war of words between us as to why they decided to attack the old and kids of the North Bank rather than employ the same tactic and try it on with us. I'll leave you to decide why. Anyway, as I say, the South Bank in the early 70s was where the away fans went. So if Man United came to town, they would have the whole of the South Bank to themselves up to 1975-76. There were some maverick Wolves firms who would wander around picking off away fans at random, but it was usually an easy day out for away fans. I will just add that the South Bank was completely taken over by Liverpool in the amazing title decider of May 1976. It was taken, if you like, but with 40,000 Scousers hitting your city for their title decider, there wasn't much we could do. Anyway, I digress. So last match of the season, 1974-75, was Leeds at home. Leeds had taken over the ground in their title decider in 1972, and some Leeds were saying they took the North Bank. Total rubbish. So all Wolves firms decided to get together and take Leeds on in the South Bank, where we would form a South Bank firm. In the pubs and clubs, all the talk was about what firms were joining in and who wasn't, all that kind of thing. Anyway, on the day, Leeds arrived and bought about 2,000. They first had trouble at the subway outside the ground where they were attacked, but once inside the ground, they got a terrible beating by the newly formed South Bank firm who tore into them. I wasn't old enough at the time, but I watched from the North Bank as Leeds got run out of the South Bank by this mass horde of Wolves. It was thrilling to watch, and I vowed to join them the next season, which I did. So the first season for me with the South Bankers was 75-76, where we established our firm as the dominant Wolves firm, having pulled in all the different gangs. The George Hotel was still the dominant force behind all this, but they could be quite secretive as to their actions and didn't want outsiders in their gang. So it was sometimes a bit of a guessing game, and other times just follow them and see what they are up to. I was now a part of this firm, having started drinking in there after leaving school. The George Hotel was not a place for the faint-hearted. It was probably the hardest pub in town, and I've seen some terrible beatings handed out to away fans and home fans if they looked at the clientele the wrong way. Away fans never visited the pub, or if they did, not for long. I believe 2 Man United fans were stabbed there, but before my time. Getting to the ground. The usual trick was to wait until we knew the away fans were arriving by train or coach and attack at the subway by the ground. Many away fans have come unstuck there, and they really needed to stick together or they would be in big trouble. I remember Coventry arriving there after their police escort, and they were given a terrible beating 1978, I think it was. Other big away firms were attacked. Some repelled the attack, some didn't last very long. Inside the ground. If you survived the subway attack, then there was the ground to worry about. During this period, the South Bank only had a thin blue line of police dividing the two sets of fans. Many a time the police line was breached, and away fans attacked and even surrounded. I remember Cardiff being attacked during a night match in 1977, and the baying mob singing to them, "You're surrounded, you're surrounded." Leeds Boxing Day 1977 was probably our greatest moment of the whole period. They bought about 2,000. Bear in mind, they had already been run out of the South Bank by the newly formed mob in May 75. This time they were annihilated. It was a terrible beating. The meagre police line evaporated before our eyes as hundreds of feral South Bankers attacked from all angles. I've never seen, home or away, such a terrible beating. Sorry, I have. Wolves at Forest and Man United, both 1976. But our away hardships is another story for another day, and this story is about Molineux and Wolverhampton. Leeds that day was unforgettable. Soon there was no Leeds left. They had all retreated to the concourse under the stand where they were waiting and pleading for a police escort, the 20 or so that was left. I don't know what happened to the rest. At full time there was no Leeds left. We felt that sorry for them. We didn't even attack them on the route back to the trains and coaches. Chelsea in May 77 was carnage from start to finish. They were supposed to be banned, but about 5,000 turned up on the South Bank. 2 lines of police for this one, such was their reputation for trouble. During the match it would kick off with gaps appearing in the crowds. But at full time, both sets of fans invaded the pitch as we had won the league and Chelsea had been promoted. It started off relatively friendly but soon descended into violence. The police came on the pitch to remove everyone, so we took the fight to them in Molineux Street. They gave as good as they got, to be fair. But hey, this is Chelsea. I would call this one a score draw. I think we tried more than them, but that's my opinion. Another of my favourites was West Ham, October 1977. Thin blue line of police dividing us. We gave everything to try and break the line, and I think West Ham were surprised with the ferocity of our attacks, but the police line held firm this time. I've often wondered what would have happened if it had broke. A mass battle, I expect, but as I say, I remember the Hammers being a bit taken aback, and not really trying to break the line themselves. They will deny it, of course. So that's how it was inside the ground. Us attacking the police lines, trying to shove a hole in them and attack the away fans. Some stood their ground like Forest, Everton and Man City. Others melted away like Leeds, Villa and Cardiff, to name a few. We would also attack in the refreshment toilet area in the concourse under the South Bank. I've seen some terrible beatings handed out there as not so many police, and it was harder for them to completely segregate the fans. Again, some firms did better than others. Spurs were always awesome at Wolves, and I really rate them. We never seemed to be able to get the better of them, although we tried a few times. After the Boxing Day demolition of Leeds and several other complaints from petrified away fans, the club decided to erect a fence in Jan 1978. So the Leeds Boxing Day was the last great victory for the South Bankers, who now had only before and after the game to protect their manor. Bristol City at home, Jan 2nd, 1978, were the last club to face the thin blue line of police, and even they got battered. I would say inside the stadium from start of 75-76 until the fence in 1978, we terrorized some pretty decent firms inside the old stadium. Not all of them would admit, and some always say Wolves was an easy day out, but not between those dates it wasn't. Apart from Liverpool May 76, who took over most of the ground, never mind the South Bank, for their title decider. That apart, we gave as good as we got, and surprised a few decent firms. That, I truly believe. But it was never the same after the fence, and we had to find other ways to entertain ourselves. Getting back to the trains and coaches. And there was the final hurdle. You've survived getting past the subway, you've survived inside the ground, but now you got to get back home. The problem Wolves had with this is that unlike some grounds like Everton, Birmingham and the likes, where there's a very long walk to the trains and chances to attack away fans are multiple and frequent. Wolves train station is like 10 minutes away, so all the action tends to be in a congregated area from the subway, up the ring road, and maybe through the small city centre, according to which way the police take them. The coach park is even nearer. There's been some terrible beatings given to away fans around this area: subway, ring road, town centre. Conclusion. So that's my perspective as a South Banker in the 70s. I drifted away from the hooligan scene in the 80s, but I know a lot of the Subway Army lads, and they fell out with the George Hotel boys on several occasions. One of the Subway got stabbed to death by the George Hotel member in 1982-ish, and then the police got serious and arrested everyone. The Subway carried on for a few years under different guises and caused mayhem in the lower divisions, as Wolves had been relegated 3 times, very dark days for both club and fans. But out of the dark cometh light. To get the away perspective, we have 2 short tales from Leeds fan Terry and Chelsea fan Robert. Leeds fan Terry told us, "It's true that we had bad times at Wolves. I wasn't at the first debacle in 75, but I heard all about it. I first went there in March 1977 for a 6th round cup match, and we took 8,000. There was a lot of trouble, but we held our own. The one in December 77 was as bad as it sounded. They murdered us. I simply couldn't believe what happened that day, as they tore into us from the start. There was hardly any police. I remember there being a strike or reduced cover or something like that, so hordes of wolves were after us from the start. We were eventually surrounded and kicked to pieces from all angles. We had no choice but to seek safety in other areas of the ground. We weren't that well organized and did think it would be an easy day out, so it was a massive shock. But these things happen, don't they? I bet Wolves have stories of surprisingly bad grounds to visit. I've been to grounds like Chelsea, West Ham and Man United, and it was never this bad. After our annihilation, the 50 or so still left had to wait in the concourse under the stand for an escort. Even that got attacked. I gather this was quite normal at Wolves in those days. I've always hated them ever since, Chelsea fan Robert told us. I was there at both the matches described. Wolves was a very easy day out. We never had any problems there. I've heard other firms say it was a nasty, but not for us. In 78 we took their North Bank. We went in with 10 minutes to go and cleared them out. They say it wasn't their home end, but it was to us. The ones in the South Bank were too pathetic to be called their home end supporters, so we thought the North Bank must be the home end. If we had have attacked their South Bank instead, the result would have been the same. The promotion party of 77 was more interesting. We were both on the pitch when it all kicked off. The coppers moved in and cleared everyone off, so we both went outside the ground and had it off. They had a go, but we murdered them. They had to hide behind police lines in the end. There's not many places where Chelsea came off second best, and at Molineux certainly wasn't one of them. Easy day out. They had also come to Chelsea in Deck 76, I think it was. A few thousand of them, and we murdered them. Most of them ran out of the North Stand after the boys there attacked them all through the match. All too easy, really. We thank John for his recollections. We know from our sources that Molineux was tough day out for some firms, but not others. But it's clear when the heyday of the South Bankers were. Please comment if you had any experiences from this period at Wolves. Thanks for watching, and please like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already.